Welcome. This is a continuation of Internet of Everything IoE Layered Architecture. In IoE Layered Architecture, excuse me, in IoE Layered Architecture, concept-driven gateways are available. The concept-driven gateways are sensing, network, middleware, and application. So all these four comes together to connect with our purpose of architecture in networking. So initially we start with Internet of Everything, and Internet of Everything terms to give way for Internet of things that are connected through devices. So that are connected to devices in the sense, first it starts with people and gadgets, then only it starts with data. So the gadgets which are all connected together contributes to a combined set of networks for decision making, and that networks are supported through data processing. Actually, data has large number of data sets to be crossed across, and those data sets are pre-processed and connected together to create some valuable source of information. And these things get processed in a process that is a dual process, and that dual process is exactly a right way of get in and get out process. It is a bilateral process, and followed by things that is physical devices connected to each other and the internet. So that makes the sense of connecting all these four together. And how they are classified in the sense, first we have a sensing layer at the bottom, and the bottom layer captures all the sensors and the real world signals and smart devices connected together. And real world sensor seems to be like all form of physical parameter conversion sensors, that is temperature, humidity, any sorts of physical attributes are turned out into a sensor nodes or sensor types, or sensor transmissions, all those things. So these areas when combined together will create a combined pool of data, and those pool of data when connected together they get into a form of creating a process called sensor layer types, and those sensor layer types gives data, and those data are combined together to create a real world conversion of data from physical attributes to new signal data setups. So all these signal data setups that are combined together will create a powerful data transmission form through a network layer. So the network layer seems to be like a transmit sensor data reliability across wired and wireless media. So to transmit sensor data reliably across wired or wireless media, the important idea is the network layer. So when the network layer is clearly established, and the network layer creates a fundamental idea of creating a platform, then the realistic way of connecting it to the middleware happens, where the middleware is exactly a process data centric platform. What is meant by a process centric platform? So the process centric platform here states with processes that the network and application need to bind each other and to make and create a solid middleware area, that is a solid middleware area in the sense area that connects with the data and applications. So these data and applications when connected together will create a unique pool of data set, and those data sets are delivered through application layer through dashboards, apps and services and many other forms of services. So the application layer, we all know how it functions because we do experience the front end of the application layer. But while considering with sensing layer also, we do understand what type of hardware is present in the nodes or in centers or in and around areas to clearly better the things. Okay. But in middleware and network layer, they are binded together to create some form of an exchange setups where all the data which are being transferred from one form to other form will always make either multiplexing of data or duplexing of data. That is multiplexing of data in the sense one to many mapping or many to one mapping. So the idea here over is we need to be powerfully very cautious in developing one to many or many to one mapping, so that the network layer and middleware layer are powerfully established to create a power set for this process. So this power set would be helpful in connecting all the data sets to the application layer. So ultimately the countdown is how we establish that one to many and many to one mapping is the key understanding of our 4-layer architecture. So we need to understand how the network layer, the key idea is everyone know this sensing layer, network layer, middleware layer, application layer, that is generic concept. But the real world problem which lies inside this network layer and middleware layer is all about connecting the duplexing, that is many to one and one to many mapping setups. So all these has a fundamental idea of acknowledging the hardware as well as software data. That is, there is a great synchronicity in transfer of data, encryption of data, followed by authenticity of data. So on creating these, you need to create all these things. Example, you cannot come outside to inside. You should make it from inside to outside. That is, first you need to make a path for these multiplexing or duplexing. Then you need to acknowledge its inscriptions. Then you need to make it whether the data is viable in transfer or it should make things better. Okay. So it is all from many to one and one to many mappings. So this is the reason why the real scenario of creating things with respect to network layer and middleware layer finds a greater importance. So, and network layers does all these things. Middleware layer is the one which stores, processes and manages data between network and application, which means it actually acts like a buffer, or even buffer doesn't matter. So even more sophisticated form of data storage protocol. Actually, we should not say it as a data storage space, it is a protocol. That is over a data transfer of multiple servers, where a server may be a master for us, but still a server is a client server or a regional server or a geographical server for a main server. When you go with server forms, you will have a lot of servers. So one such area is the middleware area. In the next video, we will explore even more about this 4-layer architecture. Okay, so thank you.